And it tones out shooting at McDonald's, right? We're in the hood. That's not that uncommon. But then they're like, calls keep coming in, is an active shooter. So we go hauling balls, and as we're pulling up, people are pouring out. So when we get there, we're waiting, and we're about to go in the back door. I'm like, this is it. Like, I don't know. A lot of people see it on TV, and a lot of people expect to do it. At that time, it's different than in the military. That mindset, like, I'm about to go in here and kill this person. Like, it was so surreal. And then the deputies on the south side of the building started exchanging gunfire with this person and through the drive-thru.
Oh, shit. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Shots Fired podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Kyle Schoberg. We got Mark Redlich here and in studio with us today. You might recognize him from the Antihero podcast. He's a street cop all the way from Florida. Tyler Hoover. Tyler, thanks for coming in, dude, and being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Welcome to the greatest state in America, California.
The bold statement. But the weather is I can't even swear. I can't swear. This is not the first minute now. Okay.
Oh,
you know how I know he's from Florida? Third word he says, he cusses.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Didn't you look up, you were supposed to look up some random facts about Florida?
I did. Do you know anything about California?
I know a lot about California.
Other than that, it's the sunshine state, obviously.
Everybody wants it to break off in the ocean.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, I thought what was interesting about Florida is it's the flattest state of all the states. Mm-hmm. Your driving record, or when you take a driving test, you don't have to parallel park anymore because for some reason you don't have to park. The weirdest thing, though, is that there is no dinosaur bones have ever been found in Florida.
Really?
Yeah, no dinosaur bones at all.
That is so weird.
Yeah, and it has the most amount of golf courses of any state.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and when you start a podcast, the third word is beep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just in the if that's in the first minute 30 seconds, just.
Oh yeah, bleep that out. Yeah. So basically, you want to move to California now. And actually, I'm telling you, go ahead, dude.
The what do you call that? The aura around California and the pop culture is just like you think it is. It's amazing. It is. California is a fun state.
Yeah.
And I've always said this, if California and Florida ever reversed, I would move to Cali. I don't have anything against Cali. It's just your market prices. Florida's are going up too, like really bad, but it doesn't hold a candle to California.
Okay. So when we stopped at the 7-Eleven to get a Monster, what'd you say when you walked out?
It was just like our 7-Elevens.
No, but you were like, dude.
7-Eleven, dude, no. It's just like a 7-Eleven. It's crazy. They're the same everywhere.
No. He's like, I love this sunshine heat here. He's like, it is so dry. And I'm like, yeah, it's not like Florida, dude.
The dry heat. That's what I love about Arizona, because I've been there a couple times, and I've only been to Southern California, but California, the dry heat is way nicer than the humid,
disgusting,
Florida
wet humidity heat. Let's just set the record straight real quick too, so everybody
balls
understands.
Are always sweating in Florida.
Well, we know that, and I was there, so I can definitely attest to that. But California is broken up, I think, into like 3 different kind of states. You got Southern California, you got the Bay Area that nobody likes, where San Francisco is, and then you've got Northern California,
agreed,
which nobody gives us credit for, because I think Northern California is completely different than Bay Area and Southern California.
Yeah, that's why they've tried for years to break that off and make it the state of Jefferson. That's why
that is true. That is true.
And did you know that part of the state of Jefferson, it would actually incorporate some of Oregon? They would state of Jefferson would actually absorb. I
don't think I want anything to do with Oregon, but
I'm just saying.
I'm like learning so much.
It like absorbs.
Oh, you didn't know this is a history podcast? Yeah.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
No, dude, seriously, because like California, has this huge. It's just hated on so much, right? So like everybody in Northern California wants to be its own, like its own state, basically. Like we don't want to be associated with.
You guys are polar opposites than Southern California.
But you're going to LA tomorrow or tonight, actually. Yeah. So you got family there you're going to be hanging out with?
Yeah. And then,
so you're borderline SoCal guy.
Well, you're in NorCal and then you go to SoCal. So that's kind of cool. You get to see all
it's
of California.
Weird. It's like a 6-hour drive or a 40-minute flight.
Yeah, that's true. California's big. So, hey, dude, you've had a rough couple of days. Following you on Instagram, and looks like you were trying to migrate your way to the Ohio Tactical Officers Association conference, where you were supposed to set up a vendor booth and do your clothing company. And it looked like, just following you on Instagram, looks like maybe you guys had a hiccup along the way with your motorhome breaking down or blowing a tire out.
So me and my co-host Brent, we always like thought it was so cool. We wanted to take the show on the road. Like we always wanted, like when I played in bands growing up, I always wanted to tour. I wanted to like go through the suck, like no showers, no good food. I realized that sucks. Like that's not that like.
You don't have to be in a band to not shower and eat garbage food.
Yeah, just do a podcast.
You can do that at home.
Turns out, well, if you go on, he bought an RV. We loaded up the trailer with all of our merch. And we went, and we were going to hit OTOA, and I was going to fly out here. And on the way to Ohio, in West Virginia, we start feeling the truck vibrate. And I'm like, I'm Googling it, and I'm like, based off what is happening right now, this is either an alignment issue or lug nuts. And I'm like,
lug nuts?
I don't
hold on. So this is, you don't know much about cars.
Clearly.
Okay.
Or
Googling it.
Motorhomes.
Well, so
there's pieces of rubber flying everywhere. Let me Google this. Don't pull over.
I think it was the lug nuts, guys.
Yeah, it's got to be the lug nuts. Top number one thing on Google is lug nuts.
The alignment said the alignment issue started at 50 miles an hour and up. So they're like, if you're not feeling anything under 50, then it's an alignment. If you're feeling it from 1 mile an hour up, it's not the alignment. So I was like, dude, it's the lug nut. So we pull over. I'm twisting. It's dark out, but we're using phone lights. And I'm like twisting them. I'm like, they're all tight. We checked all 4. Well, it turns out that they have wheel covers on them. We were twisting the wheel cover. We were not touching it.
Oh my God.
So all of a sudden, our buddy Nick's driving, and me and Brent hear, boom, and we wake up, and Nick's like, fuck. Oh, sorry. But he pulled off the side of the road. He's like, I blew a tire. And we're like, and so the wheel cover blew off with 2 of the loose lug nuts that got sliced inside in the wood line. And it was because we went and finger checked them. That whole wheel, all the lug nuts were finger loose. And that was a tire about to come off when we were
Oh my God, dude.
So the wheel got bent, the tire got blown, the lug nuts were done. We had to get it towed by a tow company that could tow an RV, so not a regular one.
Yeah.
And they fixed it on site, but they had to go across Charleston, South Carolina, or West Virginia to get the wheel that they needed. So we were there forever, and we're like texting, Tim from OTOA and all them guys, and like, I don't know if we're gonna make it. By the time we still have 4.5 hours to go, it's already noon. Oh. The vendor show ends. It's a 1 day only. We paid to have our spots. And we were like, so what they did was.
So wait, the vendor show was actually happening and you were not there?
No. So we were going to chalk it up as a loss. We're like, well, we're already on our way there. So we'll fix and we're like, maybe we can just go have beers with everybody. They at least show up. And they put out a message on blast that said, hey guys, the Antihero guys had some technical issues with their RV. They're super late. They're still coming. They're going to set up in the parking lot of the hotel if you guys want to come have cigars and hang out with them. And we pulled up, and there was like 150 people out there.
Dude, that's cool. I was going to laugh, dude, and be like, I saw that you had a post, or your story on Instagram was like, you guys were in the parking lot at nighttime with like lights and stuff with your vendor booth or whatever set up. And I'm all, dude, I'm like, that is so funny. That is not in the fucking conference. Like, you guys are in the parking lot.
Yeah, punk rock, man.
Funny, dude. Yeah, I mean, that's cool that he let you guys do that.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Up in the parking lot.
We made all of our we made our money back in order to put that money towards the
tire.
Wheel.
Did you finger check the rest of the lug nuts?
Yeah,
you did. That's good. That's good.
Who would have thought, dude? Loose lug nuts would blow your tire off.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that cars have.
I'm
wheel
sorry.
caps.
That's what I have mechanics for.
Yeah.
I don't check my own lug nuts.
Well, if it's any consolation to you, I had a pretty shitty week last week as well.
Well, what happened, Kyle?
Yeah, so my week has not been going very well. It started out, I'll make this quick, 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, I'm on the phone with my buddy in my garage. I got my retired working dog, canine Axel, outside with me. And I'm sitting there chatting on the phone to my other buddy who's also a canine handler. And all of a sudden, Axel, who's 11, dude, he's up there in age, goes diving into the bushes in my front yard. And I didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden I hear him growling. He's like, "Argh." And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, he only has ever done that when he's like found somebody and is biting a person. So I'm calling him, and he finally comes out of the bushes. And what does he have in his mouth? He's got a skunk in his mouth, and he's flinging it around like it's a toy. The skunk sprayed everywhere. So sprayed the dog. It's like all over me. I'm like, dude, I was so pissed off. I'm yelling at him to drop the skunk. Things bleeding everywhere. My dog is like on cloud 9 because he's got this thing by the throat, and finally drops it. I have to like grab the skunk now to get it from my dog. And whatever, I get rid of the skunk. And then what happens 20 minutes after that ordeal? So now it's like 11:30 at night. It's almost midnight. I'm like washing myself. I'm washing my dog.
That's not coming off.
Dude, horrible. No. It's horrible.
And you're doing this outside. You're washing them outside.
I'm outside. Yeah. It's like almost midnight, dude. My daughter walks out and she's like, hey, Dad. She was in bed. She got up to use the bathroom. She's like, hey, Dad, the toilet's overflowing. And I'm like, what? Dude, I go in the house, my bathtubs, my toilet, everything is overflowing, like sewage everywhere, like, all over my bathroom floor. And I'm like, what? I'm like freaking out now. I'm pretty pissed. And my sewage backed up. All like literally dog gets sprayed by skunk, kills it. I get fucking doused in skunk spray. And then now my sewage backs up. So now I'm out there like fishing my sewage out in the front yard. Dude, it was a mess. I'm like, this is the worst night ever. It literally couldn't get any worse than that. I was up until like 1:30 in the morning trying to figure it out. Fucking horrible. So anyway.
He sent me a picture of that. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, are you holding that skunk with your hand?
I was, dude. I had to get it from my dog.
Now I don't feel bad telling you smell bad.
Yeah.
But,
oh no, dude! Like I probably do. I probably smell like a skunk still. Dude.
The only thing I really want is you to do your dog growl again.
I got that down.
That's pretty good, dude.
I got that down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like
that takes practice.
It's a little sexual, but
it's in the throat. Yeah.
I didn't want to say erotic, but I mean, so it's gonna get weird if he asks you to do it again.
Yeah.
But
I'm not doing it.
I just randomly
time.
text you, hey, can you call me? And
yeah. Can you give me a voice text?
Dude, actually, so your guys' weeks were not great. Mine either. My transmission went out in my car and it like slips really good. So if you like at an intersection, you have to really push the gas slow or the car just doesn't want to leave.
Which is the car you're taking him back to the airport.
Yeah, but he's good at Google. So, I mean, you're going to be able to like Google this.
I want to check your lug nuts though.
Yeah, well, you better finger check them.
I hope it breaks down on the way, dude. I'm going to laugh.
We'll get there. It'll be fine.
I'm going to fucking,
we'll be fine.
Along the lines of texting though, I did want to ask you, like, do your friends ever complain to you about being a shitty texter? Cause like we were texting you, like we were talking about the table and some other stuff. I'll be texting you and then like dead, just gone, dude. And I'm like, all right, I guess the conversation's over.
I like to always know that like when you're texting, it's like, I try not to be a boomer in the sense that like I need an okay bye or I have a good day. Like the line is open.
Like
there.
I need that.
Kyle needs that. That's fair.
Yeah, you just
that's
cold
fair.
Turkey, dude. You're just done.
I'm always a text away. So that's why like I don't, because I remember I had a friend that brought up a great point once. He was like, dude, if you got to text me back, okay, that's too much. Like, I don't need you to text me back like, okay. Because then that's like...
Well, he sends, what do you call those GIFs? Or
yeah,
whatever.
I made a GIF of myself.
It's like a picture of him, dude. He's like, okay.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, oh, I'm sending that.
No, I'm usually... But okay, so I might not be the most like...
Well, so am I the only one that's ever complained about it? Like, I was just curious. Like,
no,
if
because
you're
I
just
always answer. That's the thing. Would you rather me be super awesome and polite and sweet, but then hit you back 3 days later, or text you immediately and then be like, yeah, what's up, man? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then that's it. I'm like, all right. Like, I guess we're done.
But that's my fault too, because I texted him, I go, we still on? And he goes, yep, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
But I've had people like, I guess, cancel because maybe it's me. Maybe
I think it's you, dude.
The closure wasn't there. Like,
yeah, I think
it was still left open.
Yeah. Could you work on that?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
That's nice that you guys just worked through that problem. I get to witness that.
Yeah, and then then on the way here, his sunglasses, he left those in Ohio. So we're at 7, like now I got to stop at 7-Eleven.
You guys are being fucking defrauded with these. These aren't real.
Yeah. Those are 7-Eleven specials right there.
I was like, what are those? I've never seen that brand before.
I left my real awesome sunglasses. I was telling Kyle, I was doing a bunch of stuff in the trailer and they kept falling off my shirt because it was dark. So I put them on a nice hoodie on the pile of hoodies. And then I was like, at least they're always I know where they're going to be at and they're not going to get crushed. And then at the end of the night, I threw another hoodie on top of them and put them totally forgot the sunglasses are in there. So they're in my trailer in transit back to Florida, but I don't have them now. So.
Well, you got those. Those are
look
cool,
good.
Dude.
They look all right.
Little touch of white. I like them.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. Hey, so, all right, getting serious. Not really.
No.
Let's talk about, like, this is your time, dude. Like, people want to hear about you and your story and how you got into doing what you're doing in law enforcement and then your podcast. So let's talk about that. I want to know, out of high school, you went into the military. Like, let's talk about your military career. And you were in 82nd Airborne.
Yeah.
which is pretty ironic because we just had a guy in here earlier this week who was also 82nd
I saw
Airborne.
you guys post about him.
He's a little bit older, but tell us about how you ended up getting into the military.
Yeah, so like I said, I was a punk rocker in high school. I wasn't athletic at all. I played in bands, and then one day I was just like, I felt like I woke up an adult, and I was like, you can't do this forever anymore. And I was too young to be a cop. In Virginia, where I grew up, you had to be 21. I was only 19. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, I don't want to wait 2 years to be working dead. I always wanted to be a cop. I knew that's what I was going to do. So I joined the military, signed a 4-year contract. It was during Bush's surge to Iraq. So if you went quick, they gave you a little bit extra money. And then I deployed to Baghdad in 2008, and then got out and came home, and then got out a year later, and then went to college.
So when you went into the military, you just immediately go to, how does it work, like getting into the 82nd Airborne?
Yeah, so I originally had a Ranger contract, but the problem is I lied about my asthma, because the Army won't let you. If you say you have anything, there's certain things that they won't waive that I know of. It changes now, but back then, asthma is one. Like there's some other things that you can't have medically that they just will tell you no, you can't join. So I lied and said I didn't mention asthma, but I can't. Like I've never been able to run 2 miles in under 14 minutes. Like it's just impossible. Like I start wheezing.
Well, I'm on the same page as you, dude, and I don't have asthma, so don't feel too bad, dude.
Well, now it's a body weight and old issue.
Yeah,
but back when I was young,
I hate running.
And so, I had a Ranger contract. My recruiter got me a Ranger contract, and I just couldn't make the run. So let's say like 4 months into basic training, which we had a OSA one-stop unit training, I think is what it's called, where we just did infantry training like 4 months straight. And they were like, dude, listen, you're probably not going to pass the 5 mile Ranger run in 40 minutes. Like it's just watching you. They were like, so you can give it to somebody, you can gift that contract to somebody, or you could take it, possibly fail, and then the contract dissolves. And I was like, really, to be honest with you, I want to do airborne. And they were like, yeah, you can still have airborne. That's fine. They've run slow shit. So
you just got to jump out of a plane.
So
dude.
I gave it, because airborne is in the pipeline to Ranger. That would be my next step, would have been RIP, the Ranger Indoctrination Program or whatever it's called. So I just gave that to somebody that was like a stud, because man, Rangers are studs. They're like Marines on steroids. They don't have to be thinkers. Like special forces have to be thinkers. You don't have to be. I'm not saying they're dumb, but those guys they PT an hour and a half of like grueling squad PT. Like SEALs and special forces, they hit the gym. They big boy rules. They maintain their own health as long as they can pass the test. Rangers go out there and they get it every morning at 6:30. So then I went to the 82nd Airborne in North Carolina, and then deployed pretty quick to Baghdad.
And what'd you end up doing in Baghdad?
Just lots of patrols and security escorts. PSD, what's that called? Personal security detachment stuff.
Well, I know what PSD or PTSD is, but
yeah, and it's crazy because the war, halfway through my deployment into Iraq, the war literally changed theaters and went to Afghanistan. There was some politics involved, like Obama got involved, but all of a sudden our combat died down and combat in Afghanistan picked up. And so we were starting to watch them on the news. And but yeah, ours was just, rolling around waiting to get blown up. That was like, I remember thinking like I was in, they needed volunteers. Obviously they're like, because when we got there, we replaced 10th Mountain. They're like, your front gunners are probably gonna get blown up. And they're targeting, they're using EFPs, which is the copper bombs, to blow through the MRAPs, and they're pointed up at the gunners because they want to take out the main gunner. Then they want to stop the convoy from moving, and then they want to try and ambush, and then they'll run. They'll do the best they can until the platoon musters back up and starts fighting back, and then they'll take off.
It's crazy how it's pretty sophisticated,
Yeah. So I remember I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. I was like, I was in the Widowmaker, the front truck, and I volunteered to be the gunner. So for an entire year straight at 19, this is going to sound dramatic and corny, but it fucked me up for the rest of my life. I was prepared to die every single day. I was getting ready to get blasted for a year, and it never happened.
Dude, that's insane.
So then there was one day where it was supposed to happen, but we went, instead of going right if we would have went right, we would have got hit. We went left for some reason. We had to go here. We had to go to the middle. For some reason, we just went left instead of right. And when we went left, we were dropping off. We were doing a personal security detachment. We dropped off a bigwig, and then our convoy just completed the circle, and we were getting stopped by Iraqis. They were like, stop, Iraqi police. And we're, like, fuck you, we ain't stopping for you. They're like, no, stop. So my TC goes, just stop. And he gets out, he's going, bomb, bomb, bomb. And they pull the blanket off this fucking huge ass EFP that they found that was aimed right for me. So, that stuff, like, that stuck with me forever. Like, I had anxiety really bad.
After that, like, specific incident?
No, really, that was the icing on the cake. I think it was a whole year, though. Like, I just, like, it's like, I got home, and then I'd, like, never wanted to, like, stop. I never wanted to, like, not, like, I never wanted to go to bed. Like, I always wanted to keep going and going and going. And I think I had it in my brain that, like, you have to, like, live it up, because you're going to die. So it's just, like, that was the biggest thing. Like, muzzle on muzzle combat, there wasn't a lot for us. Like, we weren't, SF in there engaging these guys at close range. There was just, any combat was from really far away, crew serve weapons. Sometimes the dismounts would get out and get some, but I mean, they're like I said, they'd ambush and then they'd run. So
why do you think you chose to volunteer for that?
I don't know, man. I was on a constant volunteer base since the day I woke up and I joined. I was like, I don't know if I had something to prove or if I was like, but that's how I am now. Like, if you're at a group of guys and they're like, we need somebody to do this, and like no one's doing it, I'll be like, I'll do it, because it's either I'd rather do it so they don't have to, or show everybody it's not that big of a deal. And so they're like, oh, well, if
it's like Billy. He's like a Billy.
Yeah.
Just do it. He'll just do it.
If you said that the volunteering part, did they look at you like, oh shit, this guy's like, do people normally volunteer for that, or do they have to tell somebody?
Well, back then, a lot of these guys were on their second deployment. So they had already gone to Samara, Iraq, the year prior, and they got fucked up. So they had earned their time. My TC, my truck commander, was on his like sixth deployment. Dang. So like these guys didn't give a shit about us. And so
what year was this, real quick?
2008.
Yeah, so that's like the thick of it, right?
Yeah.
Like prior to that was like the thick of it.
The other staff sergeant had deployed 3 times. I mean, these guys are all DUI, divorced. Like, these guys are the ones that come home and like they have fucking problems, but man, they deploy, they're on it. And so they don't really give a shit about you at 19 years old being scared. So they didn't like, and they told us too, when you get out, you better not fucking claim anything PTSD because you didn't earn it. And they weren't being dicks, but they were like, we're not claiming it, and we earned it more than you. So everybody got out, and you could claim your physical injuries, like the surgeries and stuff that you had, and but it was frowned upon to claim any type of the PTSD umbrella with the VA covers anxiety, all kinds of things. That it just, so like, I might not necessarily have PTSD, but like there was probably things I could have gone and gotten like talked through, like, hey, it's not normal to be like this. It's not normal to like, everybody comes back with a drinking issue because like the anxiety. I feel like everybody's anxiety. It's like being like on a hot call for like probably like a year straight. It's just like, always in that mindset, and then you come home and then
damn, that's pretty wild.
That's a pretty good visual to like feel.
Yeah,
like being on like one of those wild calls, and then it just doesn't end.
That anxiety,
That's why like first responders and military dudes or deployed military. That's why their testosterone's down, is because that shit stay on a heightened level like that. Now first responders do it on a regular basis for an entire career, so that's just another type. Like some guys deploy for a year straight, and it's insane. But that year it was a lot, but it's over, and it drains their tea. And other people do it where you might feel that, but over a 5-year span, it's not every day, but it's a lot, and you have to be, and you have to do it for 30 years straight. So
yeah, I know that's what I've always said. Like, dude, military, you got military and law enforcement. Neither one of us did military, but dude, cops, like, you're enduring that for like a long period of time, especially too, if you work in a busy area or a busy city where it's like go, 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 like nonstop, dude. Yeah, that shit wears on you. Like, I don't care who you are, it wears on you.
It's not.
It's just not normal.
It's not. The amount of critical incidents that a cop faces is like a fraction of, like, maybe a person might see one of those in their entire life, and you see maybe one a shift. We're like, when you're pulling your gun out and you're pointing it at somebody, we've all been there where you're like, I'm probably not going to shoot this person, but I have to have my gun out pointed at them just in case something crazy happens.
Yeah.
And then there's ones where you're like, I'm about to kill this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then it doesn't happen. And everybody's like, you good? And then it's like bound to the next call. And you're like, holy shit. You need, as a human being, you need to go home. Yeah. And you need to not come to work for a couple of days.
Yeah, like your heart rate, dude, is just fucking spiked, dude. And it's like you get back in your car and you're like looking at the computer and it's like the dispatcher's all boop, another call, like there you go. And you're like, way. Neighbors are arguing over trash cans. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I thought I was just gonna die 2 seconds ago. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So you get out of the military. How old were you when you got out?
Damn. So I got out of active duty at 24 and I stayed in the National Guard for 3 years in college just for like beer money, extra, you go for 1 week in a month and it's a couple of $100 extra.
You just offended every National Guardsman ever. I'm just kidding.
Well, maybe they're doing it too.
Yeah, they probably are too, actually.
Yeah.
So what was your decision to not re-enlist? You just wanted to get out? Like you said you wanted to be a cop. Was it that you wanted to just wanted to finish your career?
I really wanted to go to Afghanistan. I just wanted to have 2 theaters. I thought that would be so cool. I wanted to stay in the 82nd Airborne though. So when they were trying to recruit me to retain me, you have to, you can't just get out. You have to like see like 1 million people that try to convince you to stay in because they want numbers. And they're like, hey man, we can send you to any school you want. We can send you to any base. It's the Army. We could send you to any base you want to go to. We're trying to keep numbers in. And I was like, I don't know, man. I want to go to Afghanistan with 4th Brigade right across the street. Like right across the street. We train here, they train there. I was like, just put me over there. And they're like, technically, we can't do an interdivision transfer. We cannot do it. They're like, what we can do is we can have the sergeant majors just make a promise to each other. And I was like, I've seen people
don't want to
fucked.
trust that, huh?
So I was like, we were going to do another year of global readiness, which means every brigade in the 82nd has to do global readiness where you're on standby it's like being on a call out standby. One battalion's on a 4-hour, one's on a 12-hour, one's on a 24-hour. But the whole brigade's cycling through that just in case shit pops off. They want it. The whole point of airborne funding is to have the 82nd there in 18 hours. As soon as the president goes, send them. They're there in 18 hours. So
that's what the 82nd Airborne is.
That's what their claim to fame is. They can be anywhere in the world dropping paratroopers in 18 hours.
Wow, that's cool.
I didn't know that. That's
but yeah, so you have to do a year of that, and we did our year. We're like, that sucks. We want to deploy, and they're like, guys, we're going to take another year. And there's some political shit behind it. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to go to 4th Brigade. They were like, we can't promise that. And so I was like, I'm out.
What's 4th Brigade?
I was in 3rd. They were the ones slotted to go to Afghanistan. We were slotted to stay home.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I don't want any cool school. I don't want to go to any fancy base. I want to stay right here, but I want to be with them guys when they go. And they couldn't put it on paper. So I decided it was just best to get out. I had a free degree, and people were telling me like, hey, go use that. Don't become a cop and then try and use it. Go knock it out and then become a cop. So that's what I did. I went to school for a couple years with a bunch of kids that felt like half my age. And then,
yeah. Dude, I bet that was rough.
Yeah.
Bunch of 18-year-olds. Yeah. So after you get out of the military, you went to college. You get your degree, your bachelor's.
Mm-hmm. I moved to Florida for college.
Okay.
From when I was in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Then I came down to Florida because they had the best Homeland Security degree program in the country. And I was going to get it for free. So I was like, and it's in Daytona Beach. That's not a hard sell. So I went to Embry-Riddle. It's an aeronautical university, but they specialize. Their Homeland Security degree program is probably the best in the world. And so they have students come in internationally to go there. And then I graduated and then put in for the local police academy.
Did you know anybody when you moved down there?
No.
Just went for it?
Yeah.
Nice. So you get hired and then you end up going to the police academy.
Yeah, well, it's backwards there. Or it might have changed, but like you had to put yourself through the police academy. If an agency wanted to, they could pick you up in the middle of it and then pay for the rest of it. But I had to.
Who does that?
I'm not gonna lie. I'll be the first one to say it, and I've said it a million times. There's things about me that doesn't check a lot of boxes, so I was on the back of the list. So I had to pay for the entire academy by myself. But I had a lot of my GI Bill left from college. So that took care of a lot of it.
Nice.
So as soon as I graduated, I really wanted to go to the sheriff's office in the Daytona area. And because they're, in Florida, the sheriff's office is where it's at. There's some municipalities that can hold their own, like Orlando PD, Tampa PD, but the sheriff's office is like Jacksonville, Duval County. I don't think there's a Duval. It's Jacksonville Sheriff's Department. And then there's Miami-Dade because they blended but the sheriff's office in Florida is really where you want to be. It's the biggest. They got the choppers, the best SWAT teams. So, and they were like, I graduated in June of 2016, and they're like, well, we're not starting our class until August. So go flip burgers or something. That's what they told me.
Really?
That was back, I think, when applications were still coming in to be a cop.
Yeah. Yeah, people
now
were actually
they're like, it's not that way.
Yeah.
we'll take you now.
Yeah. They got rid of the agency I work at now. They got rid of the oral board.
What?
You have to do an oral interview, a physical interview to work at McDonald's. Yet you do not have to do one because kids are fumbling so bad. And the guys that were doing these boards, they're old school cops. They've been there 20, 25 years. They're like, we can't hire this kid. He's either A, insane, or B, not ready. And
not fit,
admin's like, figure out a way. So there was so many clashes between, I'll say like the sergeants and the people, the old guard, trying to be like, we can't hire these people, and admin saying, we got to hire them. And there was so much tension that they were like, you know what? Let's just do away with this whole process. That way we can just flush these kids in. So
Dude,
they did away with it.
I can't even comprehend that. I'm actually like,
there's just some ways, like somebody on paper reads great, and then you interview them and you're like, holy shit. No.
Yeah.
Dude, oral boards are like, they're a big deal because you really get a sense of people's, how they communicate, their logic of thinking. When you ask them a question, like what is the response going to be? Like you can judge, I hate to say that, but like you can judge a lot by somebody just based on an oral board.
well,
that's
you're
why
not
we have them.
You're not judging them. They're displaying what they can or cannot articulate.
Yeah, I guess
you're not
that's
really
why
judging
you're
them.
way smarter than me because that's a way better way to put it. But you're right, dude. Like
You're not judging them. You're asking them a simple question. You want to see how deep they can go and where their thought process is. And that blows my mind that they don't do that. I never
even heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's crazy because you have the ability to say this person just isn't going to work. And maybe you can guide them in a different direction, have them get some education or come back later. But yet they're going to push them through. And that's like so much money that they're going to spend at the end and go, dang it, that was a bad decision. We're not going to keep them.
Yeah. And like there's reasons that people want to become a cop. Most of us are of great reasons. Like, I saw this happen when I was a kid. I don't want it to happen to anybody. Or, I've always wanted to just catch bad guys, man, with my friends. That sounds like the best job in the world. All great answers. Then you have people answer and you're like, ooh, you should not be a cop.
Yeah.
Like they just answer in a way. Like I've heard people say,
you shouldn't have a gun.
Yes, I've heard people say like, oh, I just want to shoot somebody.
Oh my
they are
God.
dead serious. They are not joking around. They're like, I want to shoot somebody. Like, oh. And that's what you get out of the oral board. When they say that to you, everybody looks around and they're like, thank you for your time. Yeah. And you dodged that bullet. You dodged that lawsuit,
Yeah, you're like, that's all the questions we have for you today. They're like, oh, wow, 2 questions. My name and this one.
Goes out to his buddies. He's like, how'd it go? He's all, nailed it.
How many questions you get? 2? Damn, I got 1. Well, I think that's interesting that we get to talk and hang out with you because you're on the East Coast, we're on the West Coast, and it's different. Like it's different here. Like the agency that I worked for, they have put on all this different type of classes and stuff to bring people in to help them prepare for an interview. Yeah. Not to tell them what to say, but to be like, hey, these are things to expect. Practice and work on this because it is a skill. Mm-hmm. And then you guys are on the East Coast, like, let's not do it anymore. Yeah. Like, just cut this out.
We'll just do away with that.
It's just my agency in particular. I don't know if that's a common trend.
It's got to be something more than just one. Yeah. There's got to be a bigger thought behind it.
I don't know. The agency I work for, so they've got an idea ferry in there, and they're trying all crazy shit. We have something in our cars called drive cams, which is they were made for trucking companies for insurance reasons. And like now you can call your insurance company and say, hey, can you put a G-force tracker in my car? And if you do well with it, they'll lower your rates because it can prove that you don't have a lot of, they have these cameras for trucking companies that will record when there's a G-force shift. It'll record back 4 seconds and forward 8 seconds. So, right. But they're putting them in our cars where we run code legally. our G-force is all over the place, and they're recording in our cars.
So just like kick on and off or whatever.
Yeah. So, and as far as I know, I've asked all around, no one has those.
I've never even heard of that.
Now there's a difference. There's an in-car camera system, which is fine. You activate it yourself, like a body worn camera, right? You know, so yeah, it's not odd to have a camera running in your car. It's odd to have it turned on when you hit the brakes too hard. If I'm on a phone call,
I don't know. There's the system at the department I came from. If you brake really hard, or if you exceed a certain amount, or if you bump a curb or something like that, the camera automatically turns on.
Really?
You have that
dash cam?
Yeah. So it's like it's all integrated. So maybe it's just like the level of
it's G-force though, right? It's essentially like your car shifting.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called, but it's not like additional things. It's all one.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's their way if they want to hold people accountable and every little thing they can.
Yeah. So if I'm on the phone talking to you guys about something private, and you know that would be not good to have on public record, and then I hit the brakes and that goes on, now that's public record. So because it's public record, now they have to say they did something about it. So if anybody ever pulled that and go, you had a guy in here saying curse words on public record, they could say, well, we already punished him. So it's just, I could go on for days about police, law enforcement, admin, the way, because they want everything to be transparent. It's going to happen, but then you're allowing everybody to see the sausage get made.
Yeah, dude, it's almost like being a cop now, you damn near can't even be human. It's like you're constantly worried about, you know, like, dude, accelerating too hard. Am I going to be on camera? Like, it's just gone. I get being transparent. Like, cool, I'm cool with that. I don't care what you see me do. Like, when I'm actively doing my job, that's fine. But when I'm sitting in my own car, like, dude, come on. There's got to be at some point, you know, your own personal time or whatever, right? Dude, some agencies I've heard are having to record on their body cam like all the time. You're like always recording.
Yeah.
I don't get behind that.
Or
admin
admin
too much.
can tap into your body camera.
Yes.
And watch what you watch. Now, that is
true.
The way they sell anything, it's for safety. And the safety aspect is huge. Being able to track where somebody is on their computer, right? There's some agencies out there that still don't have that ability. So that's how cops can like go eat for a little bit longer and not have admin breathing down their, but someone's not answering the radio and you could see exactly where they're at. That's paramount to getting there on time to say, you know, so, but it's like that, what is it? Like freedom versus security, you know, like at what point do you give up everything? You know,
you almost feel like that. It is a bit much. I agree with you. Like I think too much is too much. And then you want to release body cam to the public, fine. But like, look what that's done over the last few years. Like you're giving the public so much body cam footage now that really isn't showing cops doing much wrong. I don't know. I just don't really.
I'm just curious when fire departments and paramedics, ambulances are going to get that.
Oh, I'm sure it's coming.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could argue HIPAA. We're there though.
Actually,
I'm on scene with them.
What's the difference between us being on scene, activating our body cam on a medical call or a car accident or whatever? We're required to do it, but
they can redact that if they need something. They can redact
aren't.
your face. If you say something medical related, then they can redact it. Other than that, what else? What else is there? They're going to blur injuries. So I don't even think that's an argument. You know?
Yeah, I think that I don't know. Everybody loves firefighters, so they don't want to catch them slipping. So society really, there's not a demand for it.
Well, what are you going to put what are they going to put a camera in their firehouse, in their studio, or where they're watching
We have
TV?
to do it, so why don't they have to do it?
If they're going to,
and I've met some pretty dick firefighters, dude, who like treat people like shit. Honestly, like on calls, like they're not very nice to citizens, you know. And I'm like, dude, why are you talking? I'm like, hey, don't say that. Like my body cam's on, or they'll say something stupid, and you're like, dude, my body cam's on. Like, what are you doing?
They're like, I don't care.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. Yeah. Anyways, all right. So you become a cop, dude. Patrol. You obviously go out to patrol. Do you have to work in the jail at the sheriff's department?
No. So some you do. Some agencies in Florida you do. I happen to work for 2 sheriff's offices in Florida that actually use 2 of the few that use the Florida Department of Corrections. So it's not manned or ran by the sheriff. It's ran by the Florida Department of Corrections. It has its pros and cons, but
I've never heard of that either. Because around here, the sheriffs. You could be a CO or correctional officer, but the sheriff still runs it. Like you still work for the sheriff's department. You're just a correctional officer. You're not a deputy.
Yeah. Nope. They wear a tan uniform, different patches.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So you get locked out. You get to go to patrol. I mean, what's that like for you, dude? I mean, what was your earlier patrol life like?
Man, I was a go-getter, but I wasn't like in the hood, I guess. So like I wanted to do the stuff that I saw, like grew up watching, and I just wasn't at the right agency. I was working the busy area, but it wasn't, you know,
it wasn't what you were looking
streets.
for. Yeah.
So I worked there for a while, and I was really hard charged, but in the wrong environment. Mm-hmm. So then I moved to a different agency that was more what I was looking for, and boom, I got sent right to the streets, and it was like tone out after tone out after tone out, and it was like that's the crazy shit that I was looking for. You can only work there for so long before you'll get burnt out.
Yeah,
you know, but it's a good young cop place to be.
Yeah, you learned a lot, got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So then, what are you doing now? Street crimes?
I'm gonna say it publicly. This is be the first time I'm
really.
Say it.
All right, this is it. This is the first time.
Is this like, do we need a drum roll, or do we need to back
like,
this?
What do we got?
I sold out. I left street crimes and went into a cushy day shift patrol job.
Tyler, come on, dude. We need our cutback.
I don't know. I applaud you for that. You've experienced it, and then it's like, what's bigger quality life?
That it was. I think when you do something proactive that long, it starts like, you know, you're there for 3 years. You got the 2 or 3 new guys that have only been on there 6 months, and they're out there in pockets, and you're just like, it's not as fun for me. So then you're like, I was like, man, there was that aspect of it. And then on top of it, everything I've got going on my personal businesses, this is the best move for me as far as, cause like, you know, I was sitting there doing in briefings and in, you know, watching cars, like about to do a takedown. And I'm like, you know, I'm filling orders, editing videos. And I'm like, I was still able to be there, but I was there as a body. I wasn't there with my passion and my heart. Mm. And so now I'm chilling. I'm back on patrol with some really good dudes that have also done that, and they're on patrol with me. So now we can pick and choose when we roll into the hood, and we want to do it, or when we want to chill, and no one's on our backs. We can go a whole week without any stats, or we can go, you know, let's go down the road and, you know, get some warrants, get some dope, you know,
have some fun. Actually, you know what, dude? Those are some of the best patrol teams I've actually ever worked on. Like, you got a group of guys like that who have been there, done that. No one's out there to really impress anybody. Yes. It's like, dude, but you guys are all on the same page. So if you want to go out there and just crush it, you have the ability to. But I've also been on teams, dude, where you might have 1 or 2 guys like that, and then you got some other squirrels on the team who are just like, go, 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 go. Yeah. And you're like, God damn, man. Like,
I mean, it doesn't change.
And I've been that guy. Like, I was that squirrel as a young cop, dude. It was just like constant.
Yeah, because you have to hunt as a pack, and you also got to eat dinner. Yeah. That's what a lot of young cops don't understand. Is like, when it's time to eat, it doesn't matter what you do in cop work. Dinner is priority, right? Yeah. So I don't want to miss dinner because you stopped 7 cars when we were all trying to go get dinner, when we can stop all the cars in the world around this 45-minute block of me eating, right? But, and I also forgot how insanely fun it is to go into people's homes and see their problems. And, you know, that is one of the perks of the job. It's front row tickets to the best show in the world is police work.
Dude, it is.
Like, when you walk into somebody's living room and you're just hearing the craziest story and you look at your buddy and you're trying not to laugh, you're like, oh, yeah. Like, those are good times. And being on street crimes, we're never doing that. We're never in people's homes, really, other than writing search warrants and stuff. But that's not the calls. You just show up and you're reading the CAD sheet and you're like, I wonder how true this is going to be. Yeah. And it's either way off or it's dead on.
You look in there like this, they don't even own a vacuum. And I'm thinking, what? I vacuumed 2 days ago. Should I vacuum? I missed a day like every other. You're like, they don't even own a vacuum.
Dude.
You're right. It's like, I think every cop, when you go into people's homes, you really get to see a perspective and realize,
oh yeah.
Well, there are cops that are really jacked up, but I think for the most general people that I know, like, your home life is really good, and you should really cherish that because there's a lot of problems out there.
Dude, I just went into a house last week. I didn't write it. I held it for the detectives that actually wrote it. And I shit you not, this is the most. We walked in and did our sweep, our security sweep. We were going to hold the house for the warrant, but we went in and make sure everybody was out. And I mean, the clutter is its own thing. You couldn't see the floor. There's 6 kids living there. A mom that blamed it all on her kids not doing her chores. There's roaches in and out of everything, right? Yeah. There's one of those ones where, like, you're shaking your leg every 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
I go into the bathroom. There's fucking shit everywhere. There's a kid's handprint of shit on the wall, like this. It was a little hand of brown. It smelled like shit. I didn't test it, but based off my training and experience, that was shit. Hey, it's not
that shit. Yeah.
It's just the craziest shit.
That's sad, dude. Like that is sad. Like that is the shit people don't see that cops do. It's not even the crazy stuff that we talked about earlier, like the adrenaline stuff. It's calls like that, man. That I've got kids. Like that stuff. I don't like that. Like dude, that stuff fucking pisses me off.
Normal to them is chilling with roaches.
Yeah,
I think that's like the emotional. Being a cop, I think what messes you up, me the most, is the emotional level of seeing that and going, the emotional roller coasters of seeing kids and what they're enduring and thinking that is not normal.
Yeah,
breaks your heart. And those kids most are generally happy and they want to see you and like.
And they love their parents who are dirtbags.
I know, but they want to like touch everything you have on you, and you're just like, you're so disgusting you're so dirty. Like, I don't want you touching me, but you're like, you've got to hug this kid because this little kid wants to hug you, and it's just like, dude, it's heartbreaking.
They're still innocent.
Yes,
they're still innocent.
They have
these
don't even
parents, and they're just.
It sucks too. And then you take them out of their homes, and they're crying, like. Then like Child Protective Services get involved and stuff like that.
Yeah, that house. I was like, dude, I called him, and it was just. The fact that horrible. Humans live like that, and of course, what those 6 kids are going to do is they're going to go have kids and live like that. And you ever wonder, like, as humans, like, why can't we fix things like that? It's because of that. It's because that's all those kids know.
Yeah.
So,
well, some of them have never. Where I work, some of them have never left the city ever. Their parents that are in their 50s have never left the city, so they don't know what's out there. They just know this. They know they wake up, they eat chips, and they drink soda before they go to school. They go to school, they come home. They don't like. There's no dinner. There's no schedule. There's no time frame. There's no table. It's just you're just.
And in the hood too, it's this generation of people like. So where I work now is old school hood. Old school hood means the crack dealers are in their 50s and 60s, and there's not a lot of violent crime because it takes a lot for them to resort to violence. That even on us, on each other. There's still a code of conduct. When they get the bracelet slapped on them, they don't talk. It's not personal. They get it. It's the game. It's their job. It's our job. In the young hood, which is where a lot of cities are trying to gentrify the area, but they're not taking accountability of the people that live there. These kids don't. This is a generation of people that don't have fathers, right? So the 50 and 60-year-old, even maybe late 20s, 30s, dad was still around. Dad was still a presence in their life. This generation now of kids. Like it's clear as day that this is a problem, and there's no rules. Violent crimes through the roof. Yeah. They rob anybody they can. They rob each other. They don't take care of their own hood and go rob other hoods. I mean, it's an animalistic culture of like, I gotta really pick the words right, but of people that don't act like a human would because they haven't been taught how to act.
And there's no consequences.
No.
The people that they've grown up watching that type of behavior, and it's normal. Like I grew up watching my parents wake up in the morning, make us breakfast every morning, make us a lunch. They went to work. We came home. We had dinner. Like I saw that, and that's normal. But they don't have that.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
It seems like around here, like, dude, there's kids as young as like 12 years old that are going out and shooting other kids. Yeah. They're the ones in some of these homicides, like 12 years old, dude. These kids are out there doing that shit,
and they don't know. And it's like they've never been taught remorse. Like back in the day, a kid does that. I mean, I'm showing my age, but a kid does that, and
I think your beard the gray shows it.
Yeah,
do go on.
Sorry, we knew that, dude.
Yeah, dude.
But I mean, like they just like, I mean, a kid did that. They still knew that they did was wrong, and now they just fucked their life up. These kids that are doing this now, you're not lying. Straight up first-degree murder charges because they don't know that that's inhumane to put a bullet in somebody's head. Yeah. They don't know it, and they're 12, 13, 14 years old.
Yep.
And especially the ones that start crying at 18 when they're like, when am I getting out? Like, dude, you just shot at somebody. You're not getting out for a while. Your bond's going to be through the fucking roof.
Yeah,
and they start crying. I'm like, bro, and I'm like, you know what? It sucks, but this is society fucking you over. You should have been locked up at 12 years old when you started committing violent crimes, and you never were. You never did an overnight once, and now you're doing the same shit, but because it's your birthday or post your birthday at 18 years old, you're doing a lot of time now, and it's like, how do you set those kids up for success?
You don't.
Yeah, it's tough.
No.
You don't.
It's sad. It's almost like a specific period that you have to let go and then start teaching and focusing on these kids in like middle school and really focusing on them. Let everyone else go.
Yep.
That's your that's going to be a difficult time. And then as those kids grow up, you really focus on them.
You're triaging.
You have to. There's a point when a 14-year-old, when I was 14, I was not making decisions and not as mature as 14-year-olds on some of the streets in these less desirable neighborhoods that we've all worked in. They're way more mature because they have to be. It's survival. They're growing up faster. So those 14-year-olds, you're not going to change their opinion. It's a done deal. It's like asking me to change my opinion. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I was at a house the other day, and I remember talking to mom, and her probably 15 or 16-year-old son was just like a menace, to say the least. And I was like, Mom, how many other kids you got in this house? And she's like, oh, 3, and they're this, and this. And I'm like, I'll be the first one to tell you, and I'm sorry this sucks for you to hear, is that it's probably too late for him. Be there, love him, be there, be his mom.
I've said that many a times.
Be there when he comes home.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to cut him from your emotional
umbilical cord.
Yeah, and focus on the other 3 because they're still salvageable.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard conversation to have with somebody. But at the end of the day, I'm not emotionally enveloped in that. They need to have somebody on the outside go, hey, this is how it needs to be laid out for you. And then I'm going to go on and I'm probably never going to see you again. But,
Yeah, it's tough too as a parent, man. Like I got kids. I couldn't imagine saying that even I have an 11-year-old daughter, like even 15, dude, that's such a young age, and having to tell that to a kid, that sucks. But, so working street crimes, what we all 3 here have worked street crimes. I mean, to me, like that is, I love patrol. I personally think patrol is like the funnest thing out there. Like just for all the reasons you just said, like just going to calls and seeing all the different things. Like I love patrol, but street crimes I think was cool because you're not tied to the board. You got your group of guys who are all pretty like-minded, and you just, you figure out little areas of the city that you want to go crush it. And go find real bad guys and get guns and stolen cars and chases and all that stuff. Like street crimes is a good gig. You did it, working gangs and.
Yeah, what I liked is when you said, I'm going to botch it, but I'll just give you what I was thinking after is I was that young guy that came in with the older people and started running wild on the crime suppression unit and then pulling them into stuff. And then they start getting to the point where like, okay, we're moving on. And then now you're there and then you bring younger people in and they start pulling you into it. And you're like, okay, now I'm done. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's kind of the cycle, right?
Yeah.
Of being
in the middle ground, it's a good ebb and flow.
Oh,
it's like at some point the new guys are keeping you like, I love it. All right, they're getting me in the mood. Yeah. And then you're also a beacon of how to act for them.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of it, when you're probably, for me, it was like 2.5, 3 years. It's like, I just didn't get any more joy. It wasn't fun. It was a job at that point. And I was like, man, lateral, I'm not a big CID guy. I do not enjoy having cases.
Like an investigator, just being
I have the way my brain works is I want one and done. I want to close stuff immediately. Like that's why the street and more operational side of law enforcement, where it's like immediate satisfaction, where you go into CID, you have, I don't know,
caseload,
X amount of cases that you got to prioritize. And a lot of people love that. They love like, let me see if I can handle 6 cases at once and get back to me in 3 days when you finally call me. Like I'm
going to solve it.
Yeah.
Right on. I want to be there when you solve it and like go get the guy.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least be or the units that do investigations, but also take pride in their own takedowns. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were chatting on the way over here. You were involved in a critical incident where you almost had to use deadly force on somebody. Walk us through that story and like what happened.
Yeah. So it was right before I went to street crime. So I probably had like 4 or 5 years on the road total. And me and my buddy were chilling at one of the spots where we go. We black out. No one, no society can't find you. And it tones out a shooting at McDonald's. Right, we're in the hood. That's not that uncommon. But then they're like, calls keep coming in. Is an active shooter, and we're like, man, 3/4 of a mile away. It's on the main drag. We're a couple back streets in, so we go hauling balls, and as we're pulling up, people are pouring out. So and we're asking them the questions. Where is he? Where is he? And they're like, how many people are in there? They're saying it's just one. And then, so of course, when we get there, we're listening to decide whether or not it's one of two calls. If we heard gunshots, it's an active shooter. If we didn't, we kind of wait. We thought we could hear the person talking to another person. So we're telling dispatch, I don't know what these people are saying. There's two people in there.
In the McDonald's.
In the McDonald's. Okay. There's at least two. No gunshot. So when we get there, we're waiting and we're about to go in the back door. I'm like, this is it. Like, I don't know. A lot of people see it on TV and a lot of people expect to do it. At that time, it's different than in the military, that mindset, like, I'm about to go in here and kill this person. Like, it was so surreal. And then we didn't hear anything, and they pretty much told us stand down and make it a barricade until you guys on scene tell us different. So somebody races up an F-150, and I back out, and I hold a slice of the window where I knew that they were on the other side of it. Deputies start surrounding it, and then the deputies on the south side of the building started exchanging gunfire with this person and through the drive-through.
Oh, shit.
So I'm like, all right. Somehow, the only thing that was hit was the milkshake machine, but no human was struck. So, and I guess because drive-through glass is like the different type of glass that the rounds didn't go straight through.
Oh, wow.
So, so now they're exchanging gunfire with us. So I'm holding this slice and I could see movement, like an arm come out, and I'm like, and it was determined before this that the person's mentally ill through the cameras. That's just them. They're talking to themselves.
Oh, wow.
So they were mentally, they were like.
And there's two dudes in there?
Just one.
Oh, just one guy.
It was one. It turns out, Tarantino, the story for you, it's a chick.
Oh.
So when she was yelling, she sounded like a dude. When she was talking, she was going in and out of like different tones of voice. Weird. Made it sound like two people were in there. So, and it was, so I sat with my M4 for like an hour and a half just watching. And I was like, essentially, she had just gotten an exchange. If she came out with a gun into that window, I was going to shoot her. And I was like, man, this is really weird. Like I had come down from the initial, so I was like kind of chill with that decision.
Yeah.
And then, the Bearcats arrived. I changed out in the middle of the road, got in the back of the Bearcat, and then I was done with that. And then for the rest of the night, I was chill. Because, there's a big difference between SWAT and patrol is that SWAT, you're responding to it. You've been to those calls a million times. Yeah. You're mentally prepped. You have that Bearcat ride over there. And then patrol, you're sitting there, laughing and joking with your buddies. And then 30 seconds later, your brain's there. Mm-hmm.
And your adrenaline's through the roof. SWAT, when they're rolling up, you have the mindset, and you're already getting prepared.
Well, you know what you're going to
on
a SWAT call out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they teched her out, robots, drones, gassed her. She finally, after they gassed the shit out of the McDonald's, which was open a couple days later, blew me away.
The chicken tastes a little funky.
Yeah, that gas
is money,
nothing.
dude.
No, that's just no joke. And, it ain't going away after 2 days.
So, so she came out voluntarily, ended without anybody hit with rounds. But that was just, for some reason, that call, the combination of me at the door, I had a more experienced dude with me behind me, and he was like, dude, are you ready? We're about to go in here. And I'm like, because like I said, a minute later, we were fucking laughing 56ing at each other in a dark spot where we were, and 60 seconds later, I'm like I'm about to go in and kill an active shooter to save a hostage that's in there. We were just waiting for one more round to go off, and that was going to be it. And it never happened. So that, and then mixed with me sitting at the end, with my rifle pointed, ready to kill this person when they came out with a gun, because they had already exchanged gunfire, negotiations. She wasn't responding to anything. And so, like, those two things alone, and then, like I said, the SWAT part was nothing. That was that was like a relaxing part. And then we went home. I was supposed to be home at 2 a.m. I had to stay over. We stay over all the time. I got home at like 6 or 7 in the morning. And the crazy thing about police work is that you have to get up there and do it all over again. There's no, if everybody from that shift on that scene feels like, hey, I need a day off after that, which you do.
Yeah.
Your brain
but you ain't getting it, dude. Like, unless you fired that gun, you ain't getting the day off.
There's nobody coming in to, to replace you. You have to go in. It's like, so I remember I woke up, I felt so hungover. It was the adrenaline.
Yeah.
I was like, I had the worst headache all day. I snapped at an old lady at 7-Eleven. Like, I was just not there. And, but I mean, this is one of those things when you become a cop, you know this. There's really no,
you don't know that.
That's true.
You don't.
You do know that.
We know that now, but you don't when you start.
Yeah, well, I think when you start, I think you think that probably isn't going to happen to you. That realistically, like, I thought that, until I was in my first shooting and I'm in the moment. Like, I drove you by the apartment complex, It's tough, dude. Like, it's funny you said that about 940, we call it 940, but meeting up with your buddies, your partner, and then a minute later you're in this shootout. That exact same scenario happened to me. We were in a parking lot, an old Kmart parking lot at like midnight, and me and my buddy were like, literally the same thing. Like, oh man, it's so slow tonight, nothing going on. Probably 5 minutes later, we're in a pretty wild shootout. So to go from, and again, what people don't get to see is you're in a super static environment where nothing is going on and you're just bullshitting with your buddy. And then next thing you know, like you said, 30 seconds later, 60 seconds later, you're literally in a situation where it's like, I might have to kill somebody, or I'm going to get killed, or you end up in a shooting and kill somebody. Like, that's the crazy thing about law enforcement, dude, that like people just don't understand. And they don't give us a credit for.
No. And then when you're done with that call,
you're expected to do it again.
You're going to drive around for a few minutes, maybe get something to drink, meet somebody for a few, and then you're going to get another call. And then that call is maybe a child abuse or domestic violence. Well, it could be but what I'm saying is that you're going to have to now change your whole mindset and give that person your full attention when you've almost died and killed someone.
What you get good at when you do that, you get good at hiding it, and you get good at going, I'm on my own. I can manage all of this. There's nobody out here. I am the police. I am solving everybody's fucking problems in the world.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anybody that can solve mine. Now, some guys get married to the right woman. Some guys find God. Some guys trust a therapist. But I think most young cops are like I'm good. And it's, they just...
That's how it compiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why cops treat people like shit, honestly. Like, because, you go to a stupid, simple theft call, and you get... Like, cops, like, I do it myself. I get so pissed off when you look at the board and you see like the dumbest call on there of like, oh, somebody stole this from me or whatever. And you're like, fucking seriously? Like, I got to go take this report, because you do so many like things where your adrenaline gets so jacked up, and the difference between what's a high priority and what's not as you become a seasoned cop. That's why cops treat people like shit, is because you're like, why am I fucking dealing with this? Yeah. Reality is, and this is a freaking lesson to all of the young cops listening to this, is that is the job. Like, it doesn't matter if you're going to go take a cold theft report of something that you think is ridiculous, but it's that day of that person's being violated and having someone stole their shit. Like, it's a big deal to them, versus going to a call where you're in a shooting. It's just part of the job. Like,
well, and to what you're saying is that if you're not an asshole and you do this thing called cop work, right? There's a difference between a cop and like a law enforcement. To me, a cop's out there like, so and you had you're a grocery store clerk. You just had somebody come in and steal like fucking $50 worth of shit, and you're just sick and tired of it. You're sick that you're in the ghetto. You're sick that the police take forever to get there. You're sick. If I come and I listen to you and I go, dude, that sucks, and I'm sorry that we take forever to get here, and I'm gonna do whatever it is that I can do for you to help stop this, whether I have to go type reports in your parking lot, I'm going to get the description of this guy, and hopefully we can figure this out. And then you go, do you want to press criminal charges? They're like, all they want to do is tell you. They wanted somebody to talk to them about that, and a cop go, that sucks. And they go, no, I don't want to press criminal charges over and I'll enjoy.
All the time.
But if you're like, do you want to press charges, yes or no? They're going to go, well, yeah. And then we talk it all the time. You just walked yourself into that report.
Yeah.
There's different ways to solve this as a cop than taking the report and passing an almond joy theft over to property detectives for them to go, what the fuck is this new guy doing? Why are you sending me this? Like, go handle it.
So what would you tell a new guy that goes to these calls and maybe someone's like, yeah, I don't want to press charges. I just want my shit back. Okay, well, I probably can't get your stuff back. What do you think someone should do
You create
to
your
help
own,
that person?
You create your own workload as a cop, and you were absolutely right when you said there is a priority that as a cop needs all of your time and effort. But on the flip side, the community that you serve, like we're part of it. We conduct ourselves under the social contract theory as human beings. That's my take on it. You are sworn in and deputized, or you're sworn in as a cop by society. They entrusted that sheriff or that chief to hire you to come in and enforce social contract theory. So just because you're annoyed that you didn't get, the felony drug arrest or the adrenaline, call that you wanted, these people call you because they can't go out there and beat the shit out of somebody that just stole their lawnmower out of their shed. They call you because you can go enforce the law. So, but engaging and like actually talking with people, a lot of the times they just want to tell you like that they had a shitty day, and you could sit there and listen with a good attitude and be like, dude, that sucks, and I'm sorry to hear that, and I'll do what is it that you want me to do? What can I do for you? And if I can do it, I'll do it. They'll be like, you know what? I don't know. This is kind of stupid, isn't it? And you're like, no, it's not stupid. But you're pissed. I would be pissed too. And a lot of times they don't want to have a case number drafted over it, which means you don't have to type a report over it. And that sounds so silly, but that's a young cop's like the biggest thing is taking the reports over stupid stuff.
Yeah. I think sitting in the parking lot, chilling out, like showing them that like you actually do care, and maybe it's the next day, that whole week, you're at least doing your rounds through that parking lot to show them that you're doing something. And
what's going on. Once somebody leaves the road, they lost all their feelers. You are the feelers now. So the detectives that have a fucking string of thefts, and they're like, they're going after the fact and checking cameras, and they kind of know what's going on. You've probably passed that person a couple times.
Yeah.
And now I'm not saying it's your obligation to stop every single crime when you don't know what's happening, but if you're showing up and all the descriptors are the same, and you've been to 3 stores and you're like, oh shit, this is the same guy.
Yeah, you know who he is.
Yeah. And then you look at it, you're like, I see him every day at this intersection on that bike. This is your case now. You have the ability to, if you're going to pass it off, pass it off as a nice gift, slam dunk, right? But, or you can turn it off and turn your blinders on and go and take paper. But I don't see the fun in that. Like you're just
but you need those beat cops that take the paper, because those guys are the ones that allow you working patrol to go out and make those stops.
Yeah. So I think that's the difference between like,
I look at the difference
cop? Like, are you a street cop, or like there are other cops that want to go do that and want to go just take paper, and they don't want to go chase the bad guys? Cool. Yeah. Like you need both of those types of people because cool, you can go do that, man. I'm going to go do this.
I think that's the difference of patrol and street teams. Is the street team, you can do all of that and you don't have to worry about screwing your partners over because they're handling different calls and you should be out there taking reports. Yeah. That's the difference to me. The normal street cop that works patrol, you're going to have both sides of that. You got to have the people that are going to make the stops, and because there's helpers that want to come. They'll never make a stop, but they're always there to help. And then you got the ones that are willing to go and take a report.
And there's nothing in 2024 when someone tells me you're an idiot for going and putting your neck out there like that. I'm the first one to say you're absolutely right. And I do not. I used to pass judgment on cops that didn't do a lot, and now I get it. Same paycheck, less risk.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And when you have 10 years in the game, a lot of guys like us, like we'll go full send and then risk a lot of things just because that's why we signed up to do it. Other people are like, I got another 15 years left. I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah. I'm 18 years on this year, and man, I'm still fucking sometimes going full send. Like guys like Mark and my other buddies are like, dude, like when are you going to stop? Because at some point, I don't know, you got to weigh that out, I guess, for sure. Especially here in California, it's definitely more risky. But I don't know, like there are cops who sometimes I'm like, dude, why are you a cop? Like, why do you even want to do this job? You get guys who are like fresh out of the academy and their first goal is to get off patrol. They're like, I'm going to go be a detective. It's like, or whatever, dude. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, my biggest advice to everybody is go master patrol. Be the best patrol cop. Get all that exposure and experience. After that, you can go do whatever you want in this career and you'll be really good at it. I probably guarantee it, because once you're really good at being a patrol or street cop, you've got it, dude. Like you could do anything. So don't skip out on that. I think that's a super crucial step in this job.
There's nothing wrong with having long-term goals.
No.
Like, I think in like a couple years, 5-10 years, like this is where I want to be. Like this part of law enforcement is kind of where I want to gravitate to, but enjoy your time on the road, because once it's gone, I mean, a lot of guys, when they take off that uniform and they put on a suit or tack clothes or whatever, the only time they ever go back to that pressed uniform is when they're a supervisor. So, it's enjoy it, because that's the whole reason why you wanted to go. And if you're not enjoying it, go somewhere else. Not switch it. Not like get the fuck out. Go switch. Take another zone
assignment or something. Yeah.
Go. Worst case scenario, go work somewhere else. It happened to me. I was working at a place that I wasn't fit for. I was getting in trouble.
Yeah.
For doing what I thought I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. We're using LPRs to catch bad guys, and then the citizens are complaining to the sheriff that you said LPRs were to find stolen cars, not catch bad guys. And so now I'm getting in trouble for utilized resource, and I'm like, and they're like, dude, come on, man, slow down. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, no, man, I totally agree. I think, and to be a good sergeant, I always say like the best sergeants I ever had were like phenomenal street cops.
Yeah.
There were always people that had like just really good street experience.
Yeah.
They always tend to make good supervisors because they get it. They've been there.
I want to talk about your podcast, because you are a cop and you started a podcast.
Yeah. So dude, what inspired you to do the Antihero podcast? How did you come up with the name? Like, how did that even become a thing?
Like I started an apparel line a couple years back called Refracted Wolf Apparel, and I was trying to brand it, get it off the ground, and I was like, man, I need to I think podcasts are the way to go. Tell my story of why I started it. Problem is I could never get on any podcast because I didn't know any podcasts, and so I was like, fuck it, I'll start my own podcast, and then that's just kind of how it went. I went full send with what I talk about, and everybody said, you're insane, you're going to get in trouble. And I'm like, I don't see how I get in trouble with a ton of truth. And we talked about this. I don't talk about the agency I work for. I leave them out of it. There's a million other agencies that are doing crazy shit that we can talk about and break down. I don't have that. I can leave one out of it. I don't poke the bear.
Yeah.
And I don't say anything that would be conduct unbecoming. I used to back in the day, but I would bleep it out. So you don't hear me say it, but I said something. It's funny, right? That's how I started getting the ball rolling with who's this outlandish dude with this fucking podcast? Yeah. The Antihero, the name was just kind of like one of those things where look, we talked about the good cops are sometimes like anti-hero-esque. Like they might not be the best family man. They might be just not the best person in the world, but they're the best cop. So, they have a lot of downfalls, but they're really good. They're a good person. They're the anti-hero. They're going to get the job done, but they're not the eat your vegetables and take your vitamins,
I like it.
So, yeah. And then it just kind of grew. I joined with my co-host, Brent, who's a Delta Force operator, retired, and he brings a whole new side of it. Yeah, and then I watched y'all as inspiration. I watched a lot of other ones that you guys were kind of like the ones that showed me like active cops can come out here and talk about it. And
yeah, well, I mean, dude, it is a risk. Like we talked about it when we first started. We had one of my other buddies, and this was like back in 2020, I think 21. Mm-hmm. It was like 2021 during like the George Floyd thing, and I was like, for me, like what I really wanted to start it for was, I was really kind of sick and tired of all the anti-rhetoric and BS about cops, and we were involved in all these riots and stuff in downtown Sacramento. And that was a time in law enforcement where, dude, I have never seen people treat cops like that. Like it was, and you turn on the news, it was everywhere, all over the United States. It was like the country was burning down, and it was so anti-police. And I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast, dude, because I had been on other podcasts, but it was military.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of dudes out there that have like big military podcasts. And I'm like, what a great way for like these military guys to like share their stories, for the world to listen to, and the cool and great things that they did during the wartime.
And unify.
Yeah.
This sounds like such a far-fetched fairy tale, but my dream has always been to like unify like-minded people like us, where, all across the country, if all of a sudden podcasts like this started popping up, and then everybody starts like listening, and they're like, we don't have to like. I remember one of the first episodes that kind of like put me on the map was like, I was like, if you don't like cops, you can suck my dick. I don't care. Yeah. And it was like all the cops were like, damn, you could say that. And I was like, if people hate us, then fuck them.
Yeah.
We're not here for them. We're here for the 99.9% of other people that, the silent majority. And,
yeah.
And we're getting, dicked over by admin, dicked over by Soros planted attorneys, laws, society.
The mainstream media, like they're only going to put out there what is going to cause disruption and chaos and right. Like they want the controversy. So yeah, that's why we started. It was like, dude, we're going to put our own narrative out there, and some people are like, dude, that's ballsy. Like you're going to, the same thing. You're going to get in trouble or you shouldn't do it. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to do it.
Well, it's because when I say admin, I don't mean any specific. I mean like police admin has gotten away with silencing cops for way too long to the point where, yes, I get it. When you put on a uniform, you do sacrifice some freedoms that the rest of society doesn't get because that's professionalism. I can't come on a podcast and say where the hell I want. I can't even say anything that's a joke because it's conduct unbecoming, and they expect their law enforcement officers to not be on podcasts being disrespectful or something like that. And I get that, and I can be okay with that, and that's the job I chose.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can't tell me what I can and can't talk about, especially when it comes to things of the job that are really hard and stressful and no one's addressing.
Well, I think that's one of the interesting things that you talk about admin, and I know you both are active, so it's different, and I don't have that. I'm not bound by anything. But what's interesting is with law enforcement podcasts that are coming more popular, ours is growing massively. Yours, like for administration, we have the ability to really influence the new generation. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like they should be concerned or worried about it, but they need to be aware of that because we are talking about things that's really actually happening and we're letting the general public know. And it's not a secret. It's just a platform to allow the general public to know what's happening. And when you start saying you have management and leaders that are being promoted because they're friends, and then firsthand that they have no skill set for them to be in that position. They can't manage a budget. They're not making good decisions. And things start getting talked about, it's going to become more heat and more light directed towards that. And I truly believe that it's going to make law enforcement more professional all around, because law enforcement is all about transparency. And look at these podcasts. Like our podcast specifically is very professional. It's very neutral, and that's what we pride ourselves on. But there's other podcasts that are really digging hard and deep into what's really happening. Podcasts are really interesting in law enforcement, and it's management needs to be aware of what's happening and evolve positively.
Well, look at like what does $1 million corporation do, right? So let's take a law enforcement. It's a government entity, but it's $1 million corporation. It's just not a corporation. It's $1 million government entity, right? So what do these $1 million corporations do to stay afloat, to stay current? They hire people of the next generation down to come in and talk about what's relevant and what people of an age where if you're that high up in a company, that means you're probably a little bit older, which means things are different now and you're out of touch. So I'm not saying that promote young cops to high levels, but I'm saying that there has to be some kind of way to where like for instance, they would love for every cop to not have social media. That'd be their dream.
Totally.
They would. Yeah. It's not gonna fucking happen.
No.
11-year-olds have social media now. There's kids coming in that are becoming cops that have never known what a cell phone, not having a cell phone is like. They've had a smartphone their entire life. You're not going to tell these people they can't record themselves, they can't have TikToks, they can't have Instagrams. You're not going to be able to bound them to a life of professionalism and privacy that you once were able to. So we need to start working towards integrating how a younger generation is going to do, because they're just eventually going to go, I don't want to be a cop if I can't have these things. So the same thing with the fact that podcasts is like admin doesn't know what to do with them because they're not doing anything wrong, but they don't like it. They hate active cops going on there and talking for hours on end on week.
Well, yeah, because they don't know what we're going to say.
Yeah.
Well, this is how you solve some of that. You talk about businesses. Successful businesses have work groups, and they bring people in from all over. Like one of the most successful businesses or companies out there is Toyota. And if you've never heard the term Kaizen event, you should research it. It's phenomenal. Law enforcement are very good at isolating specific manager or sergeants, lieutenants. Like they're very good at segregating and keeping, this is what we are. This is what we are. A Kaizen event is when you have an idea and you bring in everybody from every aspect. You would bring in the community service officers, a citizen, the patrol officer, and you bring everyone in and you say, okay, why are we here? And it's like, oh, I have an idea. And my idea is I would like to get rid of interviews for our law enforcement applicants because of this. You're going to have a huge group of people that are going to all have different forms of thinking come together and say, they're going to grumble, good, bad, all that. And then a really solid decision is going to come from that. And it's probably not going to be, let's get rid of it. Yeah. That's the difference in law enforcement. And that agency has displayed that by saying, because somebody is making that decision and a tight group is going along with that. They need Kaizen event. You need to bring people in together when decisions are being made, and they're too good at isolating themselves.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in law enforcement for sure. Like,
no, but it needs to.
Yeah, I'm not saying it. Yeah, no, I agree. But like, there's nothing worse than like you get like a lieutenant or a captain or whatever who's like completely incompetent, never done the job. They're just really book smart, or they have a master's degree, and so they've, and their main goal of being a cop was just, I'm going to get to the top. Like that's all they wanted to do. But they're the ones that are making decisions for like the line level people who they're making those liability risk decisions. And sometimes on the line, you're like, why are we doing this? Or this is a dumb idea or a dangerous idea. Like it's just, that's what pisses me off, dude, is like people that get to the top who have no business being at the top, but yet they're the ones making the decisions for guys like us.
And there are many politicians, anything past lieutenant in my eyes, captain and up is captain is an in-training political job. I'm not shitting on captains. I know there's a lot of good ones still out there.
It is what it is.
You are in.
That's part of the role. That's part of the job.
That is part of the
job.
job.
And a lot of captains will stop at captain because they're like, oh shit, I'm not going to, I'm going to look myself in the mirror every day. I'm not going to lose my soul over this. Right. But, let's say you get a captain over a really notoriously bad area that can't retain anybody. Right. They cannot retain people to work there. Constant problems. It's just a problem area in itself on top of a constant rotation of people coming in there and working and then like leaving, like all new guys, all new supervisors. And then, the major goes, how's your sector? He's not going to go, dude, it sucks here. We need to do some major changes. We need to change everything about how this is run. This has been run wrong the past 15 years. He's going to go, it's all good, major, and hopes that he can do damage control until he can get out of there and move up the ladder. And the guy that replaces him is going to go, I'm not complaining about anything. This is all great. And they'll come to us and we'll hit them with an hour and a half of problems that we have.
Yeah.
Hour and a half full of concerns and problems and suggestions. And they'll go, okay. And they'll turn around and go tell the major everything's good.
It's because it takes them, because they're going to have to do work. They're going to have to do something to address that. They did something in my department one year. It was hotspot policing, those areas where crime was happening. For 15 minutes, you could put yourself on a call, go and park and turn your overhead lights on, sit in your car for 15 minutes. That was somebody's idea to combat crime.
Yeah.
And you're like, hold on, like you're sitting in an office every day, you're disconnected from what is actually happening out there. And this is your idea and it's pushed down. And the problem is that you have too many people you heard this term all over the place. It's a yes man. They say yes. And the problem is that there are people that are too afraid to have opposing opinions. And to make a good, successful decision, you need opposing opinions. If the three of us agree on something, we will never get better. You have to have opposing opinions so it makes you think about something to make a better decision. That was another example of not thinking.
Yeah. I call it being confrontational. There's nothing in being confrontational that says you have to be an asshole. There's nothing that says you have to be mean or negative. It's you're confronting something. You're confronting an issue.
And usually when you're the guy like that, like I feel like I get that reputation, you're the asshole.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I'm not even being an asshole. Like I'm just throwing out a different idea of like, maybe we could do things a little bit better. And when you're in a room full of people like that, it's, you're the outlier. Yeah. You're the asshole.
You're the problem.
But you're the problem.
There's people that are sitting in that room with you though, that agree with you.
They just won't say it.
Yeah.
They will never say it. And in the back of their mind, they're like, God, I've had guys come up to me and they're like, man, I wish I could say what you say. You can say what I say, dude. Like there's nothing wrong with
just
what I say.
Just say it professionally and say it with respect. That's all.
And law enforcement is, as much as it sucks, it is a giant popularity contest. It is high school all over again. And the guy that's most outspoken, he could be the dumbest person in the world and make the worst decisions constantly all the time. But if he is a cool guy, and people look up to him as a societal level, almost like they would in high school, you're going to lose that. He's going up, and you're going to lose any confrontation with him 9 times out of 10 because you're not going to. No one's going to have your back. And I've seen it. I've seen stereotypically dumb SWAT dudes make some dumb calls, but because he's SWAT, they'll follow him, no matter where he goes. And it's just because he could say like that door's blue and people will be like, I don't know, it's kind of blue. You're right. Just because you're very influential. Yeah, right. Yeah. You already got me.
I can see a tint of blue in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a tint.
Listen, here's the best tip. Just follow a canine guy. Can't go wrong there, dude.
Yeah.
They're the chillest dudes ever.
Better to follow than be in front of a canine. I'll tell you that, dude. I'll follow a canine anywhere, dude. I'm not going in front. I'm not leading a canine.
I told him your story, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm not leading a canine, dude.
Yeah. Oh, shit. When I growled earlier, is that cool?
Oh, PTSD kicked in.
No, that was like a sexy, like a turn on. Well, I mean, it was for you because you asked him to do it again. But
Kyle, leave me the voice message.
Listen, dude, we got to get you back to the airport. So before we wrap this up, tell everybody how to follow your podcast. You're on YouTube as well. The Antihero podcast, your Refracted Wolf Apparel website. Tell everybody how to find you guys.
Yeah, so you go to IG, Refracted Wolf Apparel, or our IG for Antihero Podcast. We're on YouTube, on all audio platforms, at refractedwolfapparel.com. I call it the best graphic tees and outsider cultures that you can find. So
they are pretty sick.
Stickers, hats, flags, Ranger panties. We pride on ourselves on outsider apparel. So it's like a more cooler version of grunt style.
All right. Well, dude,
Nice.
I think most of our audience probably follow your audience and, we have the same culture around. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, dude. To me, it's never a competition or, I really value and appreciate other cops who are doing like what you're doing and what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make maybe not us better. I think it does make us better, but I think it's going to make the younger generation better because they follow guys like us. And man, when we leave this career, I want it to be left in good hands. I don't want to walk away from this job knowing that some individual, like we were just talking about, has an influence on the next generation.
Yeah, and I like how you guys keep them tactically sound and smart. All I care about is putting the balls back in these kids, like letting them know, like you don't have to be trampled on by admin. You don't have to be trampled on by society. You're a cop. They gave you a gun and badge for a reason.
Yeah.
Throw your fucking big balls on the table and stand up for yourself.
Yep. All right, Mark, you got anything to add on?
dude,
that was tough to end on.
That's hard. That's hard to end on. So
unless we just throw ours on the table.
I was gonna say, if you just stood up and put your balls on the table,
I'd be like, damn.
Yeah, well, all I have to say is stay safe and be smart.
Yeah,
that's all I can end on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. And Tyler Hoover, thanks for popping in, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
All right. See you guys.